Hello, my name is Frank Minista. I'm the Community Engagement Officer for Jorum, the national online repository for learning and teaching resources hosted at MIMUS. For Open Education Week, we wanted to show you some of the things that we've been working on recently with some of the revamps to the website and to the resource selection. For starters, this is a mock-up of what we're tentatively titling Jorum Beta. It is part of the ongoing process of revamping the entire website, its look and its feel. As you can see along the right-hand side there, it's much easier with this idea to browse by subject. As well, you'll be able to view resources that were recently added, as well as those that were recently downloaded. With the other categories that are on the website here, an introduction to creativity, Howard referencing tutorial, introduction to IPR for educators, the idea is that resources within Jorum are much more visible, much more usable than they had been in the past. Again, the idea is that the community is directly involved, and we're listening, and you're giving us input. With that in mind, we've got this idea of actually putting on a comment section right on the website. We really enjoy the fact that many people tweet about us and respond to our tweets, as well as send us messages through the help desk. In addition to those, there's going to be a comment section where you can actually give us feedback right on the website, and we can respond just as openly. This is part of an ongoing process of institutional and subject pilots, this one specifically the institutional pilots. We're trying to get various institutions within these pilots to engage with us much more directly. What we actually want to do is get an idea of what institutions need and what Jorum can do to benefit those institutions. As you can see, we're talking to the institutions, we're understanding or coming to terms with their institutional collections, and what we would like to do based on these is actually create neighborhoods within Jorum that are specifically devoted to these institutions. In other words, something along the lines of www.jorum.ac.uk/University of Leeds. Individuals from that institution would then go into Jorum and then specifically within their own institutional neighborhood. One of the things that we repeatedly get messages about is that individuals from specific institutions operate in an area where virtual research environments are really important. And behind that is the idea of trust and security. Now, Jorum is an open repository, but there's this possibility of actually making sure that people feel much more comfortable and feel that their resources are being used wisely and trustworthily. And the institutional pilots, as well as the subject pilots, are going to do that. We will continue to work with individuals, obviously, but the idea is to expand the scope to make the repository that much more meaningful and useful to everyone. With that in mind, Stephen Cook, one of our technical developers, has put together the Jorum dashboard. This is a dashboard for statistics, in this instance, as you see here, institutional statistics, that work much more easily than Google Analytics. You can easily and quickly get the daily, monthly, by institution stats, and then if someone calls in from the help desk, Jorum staff can easily get the statistics for a given month or a given period of time. Now, currently, only Jorum staff can access the Jorum dashboard. Eventually, we want to actually roll this out to the public to enable them to actually view statistics for their own institution or for a specific resource. And again, it is something that people repeatedly ask for, and we feel that we can actually provide it. And it is an important thing for Jorum to do as a national repository. This is the way the current website looks now. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up again was because of the category of featured resources there on the left. It connects directly in and is the backbone of what we're doing with the institutional and subject pilots. These used to be just simply 5 different resources that we would feature with no other idea than these were interesting resources. Back in December, what we started doing was grouping these into specific categories. In December, we had a group of resources that were all from the same individual. In January, we had a group of resources that were all from the same institution, and this month, February, they are resources all from the same project. In this instance, the Delilah project, which when they completed their work, deposited all their resources into Jorum. One of the things that we've noticed is that anytime we featured resources on the web page, their use and their view went up. What we've also started noticing is that when we group them this way, all 5 of the different resources' views went up. And we think that the idea of not just having a featured resource section, but a featured collections section would be very important, and again that gave birth to the idea of those institutional and subject pilots. A way for those institutions and those subject areas and those individuals to actually make their resources that much more visible and accessible. This is one resource that was actually featured in the Jorum competition last year. It's the Citing the Law tutorial. Now this, which was produced by Kathy Jackson and Ian Bradley, in addition to some other people as part of the Escola project, was already well established. The reason why I wanted to point that out is, again, it emphasizes the idea that Jorum has good materials in the repository. It was also part of a relaunch of the resource. And when they put it into Jorum and entered into the competition, one of the things that we noticed right away was that there was an immediate uptake in views for this resource. More importantly, after the competition, we saw that there was an increased viewing of this resource all the way into the middle of December. It's an important thing to point out. One, it's a good resource, but in putting it in Jorum, it actually has an extended kind of life. More people access it than they would have done in just some localized repository. We like to think that the idea of disseminating information and making the resources available is something that is really the part of the main mission for the repository itself. This comes directly from the University of Oxford's tall OER impact study. And as a means of just highlighting what we've done and the impact we've already started to have, the quote comes directly from an anonymous tutor who says of Jorum, "It is my first port of call now. I'm on there all the time looking for stuff. And I can find really good stuff in there." It's an important thing to point out. It's an open repository. People are putting stuff in, and very importantly, they're finding stuff and taking stuff out. It's an important thing for us to emphasize all the time. In addition to all that, we've also done a great deal of work with our blog posts. We used to have the Jorum Update newsletter, but the blog posts do much of that work now, giving information about what we're doing and services that we're rolling out, as well as other key things that are going on in the neighborhood. In this instance, Brian Kelly from Yukon at the University of Bath did a guest blog. He's also on our steering group, but the important thing here is that we are not just simply here to talk about what we're doing. We want to hear from the community, and we would value people actually contributing to our blog post. The idea is, again, it's an open environment. It's an ecosystem of open resources, and we think that the blog post itself can actually aid in that task. In this instance, it goes back to statistics. How well can statistics tell the story, and how well can statistics help us improve the repository?